So the mystifying picture is a little bit...
What are you filming?
The mystifying picture.
Okay, well, bye-bye.
I could just put you on the speaker and then you could be in the what the heck too. Okay. Later, bye. I've already forgotten what I was saying. Hi everyone, and welcome back to What the Heck. You're here in the heck with me, Patti your friendly ZTA archivist. Today we're going to be talking about the mystifying picture, which you can see over my shoulder. Not a lot was known about the mystifying picture until 1924. That's when Shirley Creason Strout got the 8 remaining founders that were still alive together in Richmond, Virginia. And they had a weekend where they talked about history, and she learned all about the founding of Zeta and some of the secrets. And the mystifying picture was one of those secrets. Some people had thought that the picture might have referenced an old ritual, but the founders told Shirley the truth, and basically it was just a practical joke that they were playing on the other students at the normal. So the founders had thought that the photos in the yearbook were really too serious, and the funny thing was that there was only one photo studio in town, so the background of the mystifying picture is in the background of most group photos at the State Female Normal School, and they wanted to kind of mix it up and do something different to show their personalities off. So before 1924, the mystifying picture really wasn't shown or shared too much. The founders were kind of embarrassed about it, and Shirley asked them why, and they just said that they were afraid that people would take it the wrong way, that they were making fun of the organization, when really they were serious about Zeta in the beginning. So the mystifying picture got its name because it was kind of a play on the original name for Zeta Tau Alpha, which was the 3 question marks. The mystifying picture really did kind of show what the founders were like in the very beginning. They kept everything secret for so long, when normally you'd think you start an organization and you just announce it to everyone. They had everybody at the normal mystified for a few months. So many of you have probably already read the actual explanation for the mystifying picture, what everyone is supposed to represent in the photo. And I thought I'd go a little bit deeper into that today because there's some other things that you might not know about the founders. So in the mystifying picture, Alice Coleman is called the flirt because she's holding a handkerchief, which is an old-fashioned way of flirting with boys, and she was very popular. She had friends at all of the men's colleges and the women's colleges around the State Female Normal School, and in newspapers at the time, her name is in every single article talking about the parties at Hampton-Sydney College, at Washington and Lee. So Maud is the angel in the mystifying picture. You can see her pointing to the heavens. She was very morally upright. She was well respected on campus, and everybody loved her. Della is the judge in the picture, and that's because she was so well respected on campus, and students really looked up to her for guidance. And unfortunately, Della is one of the founders we know very little about. So if any of you know anything about Della, let me know, because I'd be very interested in hearing about it. And you can see Frances in the picture. She's called the preacher, and that was definitely because she was also very devoutly religious, and she was leader of a couple of the campus's main organizations. She actually founded the secret society of Chi, which is still active at Longwood today. And Helen's the teacher. You can see her with the slate, and she really was a little bit ahead of her time. She focused on science and math, and she became a math teacher after college, did that for the rest of her life, and she was probably the founder that was most serious about teaching, and definitely the only one that did it for a lifetime career. Ethel and Ruby are standing over there in the corner, and they're the lawyers, and that's because they both really had a strong sense of right and wrong, and people came to them for advice, and I'm pretty sure they weren't afraid to tell people if they were in the wrong. We love a Zeta who speaks her mind. Alice Welsh was a poet because she was really the most free-spirited of all the founders. If they had had some kind of prop in the studio to represent traveling, I think that would have been more accurate for her. She traveled more than any other founder, and she was the only founder that left the contiguous 48 states. CAMMIE is holding the candle because she was a light. She was said to have had a very sparkling personality that drew people to her like a moth to a flame. CAMMIE's name also pops up in those articles about parties at different colleges. She loved to dance just as much as Alice Coleman. The unique thing about the mystifying picture is that we actually have our first new member class in the photo with the founders. Grace is the child of nature, and you could tell that because she has a lot of flowers woven throughout her hair. It's really rare to see a young woman with her hair down in photos at this time because it just was not done. But I really think it expresses Grace's personality. She was very casual and free and outdoorsy, and in the Mystifying Picture, she looks the most contemporary. Ellen was a baby in the picture, and you can see that she's holding a little toy monkey, and that's mainly because she was younger than the others, and she also looked really young. And you have to remember that the state female normal school was kind of like a combination of high school and college. You could start there as early as 14 and stay 1 year or 6. You just left when you'd finished all of your courses. And you can see Odelle sitting with a shawl around her shoulders. She was the grandma, and that was because she was already out of school and teaching. But she was still included in this first new member class because she was a great friend of all the founders, and they couldn't imagine her not being a part of Zeta Tau Alpha. I love the Mystifying Picture because it really shows the personality of all the members, and I think it's the most authentic view of what they must have been like. They were fun. Sisterhood was the #1 thing. Zeta had all kinds of personalities. So thanks to Shirley Creason-Strout and her story collecting ability, we all have the true story of the Mystifying Picture, and it is one of the most cherished things that we have in Zeta Tau Alpha. And actually, the original was thought to have been lost for quite some time, but it was discovered in 2013 when Alpha Chapter was rechartered, and it was found in an old frame in their suite, and it turned out to be the real thing. Today, the original Mystifying Picture lives here in the HEC. It will be safe for generations of Zetas to come and look at it, and I hope that you too get a chance to come to the HEC and see it in person.